Hi, Phoenix family. It's Tish here. And today I was hoping to take some time to talk to all of you about some of the big changes that are happening in some of our nervous systems as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I also wanted to relate that to the window of tolerance. And we'll talk a little bit about what happens to our nervous systems when we go outside of our window. So I thought this might be useful for everybody because I've been noticing some themes. The longer we go into lockdown or different things happening as we're phasing out with the COVID pandemic, I think at this time of recording, we're about 8 months into the pandemic right now. And I've noticed some commonalities in how COVID seems to be infecting the people that I serve. So I've been hearing some increases in struggles to leave their home and not really feeling safe and worried. Some people are telling me that they're feeling a little bit more numb lately, just kind of like this sense of, oh, I don't care. I just want this pandemic to be done. I want things back to be normal again. Along with that, there's also a lot of anger that can come up, frustration, whether it's at not having your independence, or frustration towards COVID, or maybe our loved ones for not following the same rules or procedures that are being recommended. Across the board, there can be a lot of anger. And often with anger, sometimes we have grief and sadness too. I know personally myself, I've been really mourning a lot of the life that I don't get to live right now, whether it's to travel or to be able to give a hug to a friend or family member I really care about takes a toll on me. Another big thing that people have been mentioning a lot is just forgetting stuff, like having a hard time recalling words of objects or places or forgetting dates and times. I've coined that as pandemic brain. And with that, we can also see a lot of mood fluctuations. So all of these things are really big examples of how living in a pandemic world impacts us, impacts our functioning, and really impacts our nervous system. So I'm going to take a minute here and I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see this graphic that I just put up online. I just did a simple Google search and found this graphic to outline the window of tolerance. And what you'll see right in the center, that's our window. So when we're in our window, we feel most comfortable and calm. We are connected to people. We can socially engage. The world really feels safe for us. We are at our most optimal functioning when we're in the window. And what really being in our window means is we can regulate our emotions, right? So on any given day, our emotions are going to go up and down. Things are going to happen. Maybe a coworker says something to us that upsets us, or a partner, or we get really stressed out with a project we're working on, and that mood comes up and down. But when we're in our window and we're in optimal functioning, we're able to regulate ourselves and get us calm and connected and can socially engage again. What happens over time when we're really stressed out and stress keeps hitting us is we cross this threshold of, okay, I'm in my window, I've got this, oh, now maybe I'm a little overwhelmed, I don't know. And then we go, boom, I can't handle this anymore. And I've been hearing a lot of that with COVID, right? 8 months, I just can't do this anymore. And when that happens, when we hit that threshold, we can go up, and you'll see on top in the red zone here, into a hyper aroused state. This is often called when our lizard brain activates fight or flight response. So I like to think of the hyper aroused state as we can become more anxiety ridden. We can have outbursts more often. We get a little moody. Sometimes we can respond with big time anger and aggression, or we can try to control things, right? So the world feels out of our control and we become very control oriented. Maybe we see more behaviors going in the home right now. So I may say, up, everything feels out of control. So I'm going to sanitize everything. I'm going to Clorox everything down and just try to keep this virus away from me, right? That's a great example of being hyper aroused. When this zone activates for us, we also have a lot of dangers of developing more of the addictive symptoms or going back into bad coping tools. So when we're activating bad coping tools, these may be things that make us numb, like over or under eating, drugs or alcohol, obviously, or even cutting behaviors. We are more likely to be impulsive when we are hyper aroused. On the flip side, outside of our window, we also have the potential to go into a freeze response. and that we note as a hypoaroused response. So back to what I was talking about earlier, this becomes more of like a numbing. We just really go into shutdown mode. We just can't take anymore. We're numbing out. We start to pull away from our feelings because they feel like too much for us to handle. We go into autopilot on day-to-day tasks. So as I'm talking about some of these things, I'm wondering maybe if some of you out there are noticing times throughout the COVID pandemic when you went to hyper or hypo arousal mode, and how that directly is impacting you, as it can have a direct impact on our everyday life and our functioning. And when this happens, our adrenal glands are really running on overload. Our body was not built to maintain either of these states for a very long time. So, what we want to do is hopefully build awareness to when we're entering either the hyper or hypo aroused states and start to do some interventions. Because at the end of the day, we want to keep ourselves in our window of tolerance. Now, I wish I could give you some easy examples, some cookie cutter examples of interventions that work for everybody, that helps us stay in our window. But what I can tell you is the key is to respond quickly. So either you want to be preventative and start things daily that keep you inside your window, and or when we start to notice ourselves going out of that window, we want to respond immediately. How we might respond looks different for everybody. After this video, I will, in a week or so, put up a follow-up video sharing some of my favorite somatic activities. And all of those activities would be great things to keep you inside your window of tolerance. It's just experimenting and figuring out what works for you. Additionally, some of the things I can take from my own personal world that have really kept me in my window. For instance, when I'm hyper aroused, I really want to focus on grounding tools that are going to keep me regulated. I know I need that. So for right here, I have what's called a Soothie. It's a little dog, but he's weighted at about 5 to 10 pounds. And he also smells like lavender. So he's great to sit in my lap when I'm feeling hyper aroused and activated, because he's going to ground me and keep me in space that I'm in now in my body. And so when I think of being hyper aroused, I really try to pull in my 5 senses and do something that's going to be soothing for them. I'm also a big fan of scents. I know that scent responses are big for me. So I'll use a lot of essential oils. I'll light a soothing candle. That can be helpful. On the down section of here on the blue box, you're going to see the hypo aroused. I'm going to respond differently when I feel hypo aroused. When I'm numbing out, I'm going to do things that are going to pull me back up and up regulate me. So I'm going to maybe I have an elliptical at home. I'm going to hop on my elliptical and run as fast as I can for a little bit. Or I'm going to put on some music that really feels good and makes me feel happy, and I'm going to do a silly dance. Or maybe I'm going to eat a type of food that really excites me and is going to be big on my taste buds. That's going to ground me in the here and now. Those are just a few examples that works for me. Again, keeping inside your window is a very individualized thing. So we're figuring out what's going to help us regulate your emotions. So it might take time and some experimentation, but it is completely possible, even in pandemic world, to keep ourselves inside our window and regulated. We just have to have the awareness. So here's my little brief education about what it's like to stay inside your window of tolerance. I hope you find it helpful. If you did, please feel free to give us a like, and contact me or reach out. I'll put my email address on the bottom of the screen here. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. At the end of the day, when we come out of this pandemic, we don't only want to be physically well, but we need to be emotionally well. So here's to happy practicing and staying inside your window. And I wish you all physical and emotional health and wellness. Until next time, Phoenix family, have a great day. Bye.